All right, today we're going to jump into something really fascinating and honestly pretty provocative. It's a neurobiological argument from the book Why the Lifestyle of Islam Always Wins. And trust me, it makes a pretty radical claim about an ancient practice and how it connects to modern brain science. It's surprising, to say the least. So let's get right into it.
So let's just start with a big question, one that kind of frames everything we're about to talk about. What if a punishment wasn't actually for punishing? What if a practice we all think of as punishment was designed, at a deep biological level, for something completely different?
Okay, so the book we're looking at today, it puts forward this really bold idea. It says that in certain Islamic contexts, the practice of flogging isn't about revenge or making someone pay. Not at all. Instead, it's argued to be what the book calls a restorative protocol. Think of it like a kind of therapy, designed to chemically heal the brain, especially when it comes to addiction. I know, it sounds wild, right? So how could that possibly work? Let's unpack it.
And that brings us right to the first big idea here, which is a total reframing of this practice. The author basically asks us to just put aside what we think we know, the conventional view, and look at it through a purely physiological lens instead.
So you've got two very different views, right? On the one hand, there's what most people think. It's about deterrence, it's about revenge, but then the book makes a totally different argument. It's talking about a restorative bioshock. The claim here is that the goal isn't to hurt someone, but to jolt their system, to stimulate it in a super specific way to get the body's own chemistry back in balance.
So this bioshock, what exactly is it? This is where things get really interesting, because the argument shifts away from philosophy and dives headfirst into neurobiology. It's all about how pain can be connected directly to a healing response.
Okay, the book breaks this down into a pretty simple four-step process. First, the skin gets hit with an external stimulus. Step 2, the nervous system does its job and sends pain signals rocketing up to the brain. Now, here's the crazy part. The brain's response isn't just, ouch, that hurts. It launches this massive counterattack, a huge flood of natural chemicals. And what's the end result? A feeling of deep, natural calm once that initial pain is gone.
And the key players in this whole process, they're called endorphins and enkephalins. And we're not talking about some minor chemicals here. The book points out that these are the body's own natural painkillers made right in the brain. Get this, they're described as being many, many times stronger than morphine. It's like we have our own powerful pharmacy built right in.
And this right here is the absolute crux of the whole argument. See, if you're addicted to something like alcohol, your whole pleasure system is basically outsourced to that external substance. This bioshock, the theory goes, is like a forced reboot. It basically compels the body to start making those feel-good chemicals again from an internal source, not an external one.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Pain leading to a feeling of calm or even euphoria, it sounds completely backwards, right? Well, the book draws a comparison to something that a lot of us have actually heard of or even felt.
Let's just look at the comparison side by side. Think about a long-distance runner. They push their body, they feel muscle pain and strain. What happens? Their body releases endorphins to cope with that stress, and the result is that amazing feeling we call the runner's high. The argument in the book is that this is the exact same mechanism. You have a pain stimulus, you get an endorphin response, and the result is this deep sense of calm, or what the book calls healing.
And this quote from the book just nails the whole concept perfectly. It calls the practice, quote, an intense, forced exercise for the nervous system to resume producing its natural painkillers. See, it's not about injury, it's about stimulation. It's like a workout, but for your brain's own chemical factory.
Okay, this next part is pretty wild. The argument actually connects this whole biological theory to the Arabic language itself. Yeah, you heard that right.
So the author points out these two words that are incredibly similar. You have al-gilad, which refers to the external act itself, but it also means things like strength and resilience. Then you have al-jild, which means the skin, the actual organ that feels the sensation. The book suggests there's this incredible connection here. The external action of al-gilad is designed to trigger an internal process inside al-jild, the skin, which then kicks off that whole healing response in the brain.
All right, so let's pull all these threads together. How does this whole mechanism supposedly work as a fix for addiction, specifically for what the book describes as chemical bankruptcy?
So according to the book, think of alcohol like a chemical credit card. It gives you a huge, immediate cash advance of feel-good hormones like serotonin and dopamine. That's that temporary peak. But just like a credit card, the bill always comes due. What follows is a total crash, a depletion of those very chemicals, which leads straight into anxiety and depression.
And this state of depletion, the book has a really powerful name for it: chemical bankruptcy. It's like your brain's bank account is completely empty. And that horrible, empty feeling is exactly what drives the cycle of addiction, pushing the person to go get another quick chemical loan.
So the Bioshock is presented as the solution to this. It's a hard reset. Instead of chasing an external chemical that just digs you deeper into debt, this process is meant to jumpstart the body's own production line, to get it making its own happiness chemistry again. It's about retraining the entire reward system in the brain.
And to back up the idea that this is supposed to be therapeutic, not just violent, the source points to some really strict rules about how it was meant to be done. For example, the person's arm shouldn't be raised too high. That keeps the strikes from being too deep. The strikes are also spread out across the body to hit more nerves, not to cause focus damage. And, maybe most importantly, critical areas like the face and other sensitive spots are completely forbidden.
So it all comes down to this one idea, summarized perfectly by the source itself. The whole point is to transforming the pain of punishment into a natural pleasure of healing. It's about using the body's own wiring to fix a chemical problem that addiction created.
And that really leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. No matter what you think about the practice itself, the neurobiological case the book makes is, well, it's pretty thought-provoking. It really makes you wonder, how can looking at the why behind some of these ancient, even controversial practices actually challenge what we think we know about the brain and its incredible power to heal itself?